great independence of political, economic, military security rights as an independent state. Yes, closing.
Under a poor situation that Taiwan government still enjoys the majority of the power inside their own government. And so what's the meaning of pursuing the whole entire independence, especially when there's some economic loss?
The meaning, number one, there is no economic loss, because just like NEAO told you, Taiwan is actually pursuing trade surplus despite the recession impacting the entire economy. And number two, the reason you pursue independence as a state is because you have your own right in the society, in the international community, to voice out your political opinions on issues of security, on issues of regional trade, on issues of military. That is the very fact that you pursue independence and not lie on a big brother. Now, thirdly, most importantly, I guess the biggest issue of today was, fine, we'll drop all independent movements, whatever that was, really unclear for the government bench, but fine, we'll be absorbed into China. What are the harms of not doing this? They tell us, number one, Africa will be very upset. Number two, US already abandoned you. And number three, China is not happy. Fact of the matter is, number one, China needs Taiwan more than Taiwan needs China. Number two, US abandoning you. What harm has US abandoning Taiwan has any impact on Taiwan or the international community? Because number one, we think it's false to claim that US abandoned Taiwan when US is actually having a very healthy relationship with Taiwan. But number two, we think that China being upset has not led to any provocative actions between China and Taiwan. Because maybe, in 2000, when China actually threatened military attacks on China, perhaps that was the time when Taiwan should have dropped all its pursuits. In this status quo, Mr. Speaker, in 2011, do we see an immediate military threat that Taiwan needs to go running into the arms of the country that kicked it out to an island? Does Taiwan face any security harms or anything in the status quo to change their entire direction, change their entire goal of establishment as a country? No, Mr. Speaker, so we believe the government bench failed. But what has the principal argument that the closing opposition has been giving you today? The closing opposition believes that in the status quo, national sovereignty and the pursuit of national sovereignty is a value to be deemed. But more importantly, we think that submitting to a tyrant power, submitting to a superpower or a potential superpower is simply not in the interest of the international community. Because we think that when Taiwan was already kicked out of the Permanent Five Nations, when Taiwan doesn't have any voice in the United Nations, when Taiwan has no voice in any of the international criminal courts, we believe that Taiwan needs to continue its support and pursuit of independence in order to regain that right as an independent state. Well, that is the very value of the Helen we have to say to that.
If you want to talk about comparative advantage, Mr. Speaker, wouldn't there be more comparative advantages for Taiwanese government after unified China, where democratic and communist nations will now want to engage with the unified China?
Mr. Speaker, we think it's absolutely absurd to assume that number one, countries are not engaging with China because it's communist, and number two, that somehow by adding Taiwan, that people will be more inclined towards China. Because as far as I understand in IR classes, every country, whether despite their emotions or not, we all interact with China because we really don't have any choice. So their whole comparative advantage will be a win-win game for everybody. It doesn't really make sense because Taiwan doesn't see any benefit of being absorbed to China. And even if it does, we don't understand why immediate absorption is necessary or why their entire established or goal of their country needs to be abandoned. But anyways, moving on to back to what we proposed. Mr. Speaker, we think it was really shameful for the opening government to not engage in our entire argument of why Taiwanese current pursuit of independence is the reason international community exists. The very reason that all countries pursue is to have a voice in the international arena, not to succumb to geographical power, not to succumb to population, but rather as an independent state pursuing a different political system and a different economic system should be gained an equal right to China, to the US, to Japan, to Korea, what it may be. We think that Taiwan is imperative for it to have a political voice. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, when you compare what Taiwan has to gain from being part of China and what Taiwan has to gain from being Taiwan, it's simply drastic. Fine, under their model, we'll have Facebook, whoopee. Under our model, we'll actually have voice in the United Nations. We'll actually have our own soccer team, if that matters to you, and we'll have other independent powers that Taiwan can have as an equal state. That is the very international order we want to promote, and that is the very international